Mr. Sukhendu Sekhar.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, sir. Sir, according to astrologers, Saturn falls in the line of Mars and enters in the star sign Libra around the time the budget 2014-15 was placed. Astrological forecast predicts a very tough time ahead in such combination of planetary situations. But I am not sure whether this astrological prediction has any effect on this budget. वो शनि का जो अंतर्दशा है वो इस बजट के ऊपर पड़ेगा कि नहीं पड़ेगा मुझे मालूम नहीं है, तो आगे देखने पड़ेगा. But even before this budget was placed, the government hiked the prices of diesel, petrol, railway passenger fares, and particularly the freight, resulting into abrupt rise in the prices of essential commodities, particularly the vegetables throughout the country. Sir, when I look at this budget, I find it to be an extension of the previous budget. Possibly, the Babus of North Block, they were waiting for change of guards, and only after 16th of May, when the results of last Lok Sabha elections were announced, they started doing some denting and painting on the interim budget placed in February, and this is how the interim budget has turned to be an ad hoc budget for the coming 8 months. Sir, everyone must agree with the Honorable Finance Minister. Everyone must agree with the Honorable Finance Minister that nothing can be achieved or done within 45 days. True. Because of the sluggish economic situation, very difficult. Yet everyone expected that a new roadmap, keeping in view the slogan, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, there would be a new roadmap. But I am constrained to say that this budget does not reflect any new vision or mission or a dimension for the hungry millions of our country. When I say so, I like to quickly refer a few figures from the Millennium Development Goals Report 2014, released by the Secretary General of the United Nations very recently, wherein it is stated that 1/3 of world's poorest of the poor people live in India alone, who cannot earn even $1.25 a day. That is to say, the people who cannot earn even ₹75 a day, 1/3 of them live in India, and incidentally, they constitute 1/3 population of our 1/3 of our total population. This is the situation, that 1/3 of our population are poorest of the poor of the world. And this report also says that India is having highest number of under 5 deaths in the world, with 1.4 million children dying on an average per year before reaching their 5th birthday. Not only that, India has the estimated 50,000 maternal deaths per year, which is the highest in the world. The report further says that nearly 60% of the Indians practice open defecation. Sir, while this being an alarming situation, this budget ought to have put special emphasis, considering these development indexes, in extending all support to all those who need it most. But there is not even a ray of hope for 1/3 population of our country figured in the UN report, and this budget does not reflect any hopes or aspirations for those 1/3 population of our country. Sir, while this is the situation, I feel ashamed and shocked to know that while 1/3 of population is not in a position even to maintain their animal existence, not to speak of living with a human dignity, the Boston Consulting Report 2014 says that India shall be the 7th wealthiest nation by 2018 in terms of numbers of millionaires and billionaires. 7th wealthiest country by 2018 in terms of number of millionaires and billionaires. So side by side, ये अंधेरा भी है, ये उजाला भी है. अंधेरा किसके लिए है और उजाला किसके लिए है, ये बजट में थोड़ा बहुत चर्चा करना जरूरी था. हमें अफसोस है इस बारे में कोई चर्चा नहीं किया गया. Sir, it establishes beyond doubt that the so-called economic reforms being perpetuated from early 90s has immensely benefited the richest people of this country and not the poorest of the poor. Sir, it is a common knowledge that as the income gaps between the rich and the poor widen, subnation emerges within the nation and leading to economic and social mutinies, which is writ large on every nook and corner of this country, and none of the governments address the problem in a serious note. Sir, even from this budget it is clear that the mandarins of the North Bloc, they are held to look at the writings on the wall. Sir, whenever there is a budget, there would be an inbuilt story of growth. And this budget is not an exception to that story of growth. There are beautiful depictions about how it is visualized and how it is to be achieved. But when I put the question to myself as to whether growth by itself can create an economically unified nation, whether growth can create an economically unified nation, that comes a reply, no. Unless the entire character of development planning itself is changed, providing for more balance between rural and urban areas of the country as a whole, and treating as an integral and economic hinterland, no inclusive growth can be achieved, particularly when the BPL census undertaken by the Ministry of Rural Development projects that half of India's rural population live below the poverty line, yet this budget maintains status quo. Sir, the Honorable Finance Minister has set a target of reducing fiscal deficit from 4.1% to 3% in 2017. But the budget lacks details on revenue and expenditure measures to lower the deficit. This budget has attributed only one line at page 3 of the budget speech on the problem of black money, without mentioning anything about action or sanction to be initiated against those countries unwilling to disclose the Indian accounts, and also against those 498 Indian entities operating from different tax havens. Sir, the fate of rupees 750 crore loan default scam, 750 crore loan default scam involving the life insurance corporation to the benefit of a private company is also not known. And it reminds me a similar scam involving the life insurance companies in the early 50s, when involving a Calcutta businessman, as a result of which the then Finance Minister, Sri T.T. Krishnamachari, had to resign. I want a clarification from the Honorable Finance Minister that what is the fate of that 750 crore scam of the LIC. Sir, I have identified I have identified from this book the budget at a glance. There are 25 schemes. 25 schemes wherein rupees 100 crores have been allocated. And there are 15 other schemes where a paltry sum of rupees 20 crores to 90 crores have been allocated. So altogether, 40 schemes in this budget, allocation of which range between 20 crores to 100 crores. I am just referring only a few of them, like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Madrasa modernization, tribal welfare, and Ghat development. I am not sure whether Ghats includes bathing Ghats, ferry Ghats, and burning Ghats too. But Ghat development, a new thing that this budget has highlighted, very good. And for this all 40 schemes, only 20 crores to 100 crores have been allocated. I would request someone from the government to visit West Bengal and ascertain from our beloved leader, Ms. Mamata Banerjee, who is heading a government in the most debt-ridden state of India, as to how she has allocated rupees 1,000 crore for Kanyasri scheme, which is identical to this Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme, but initiated much earlier. And this House will be happy to know that this Kanyasri scheme, initiated by Ms. Mamata Banerjee, has got the appreciation of the United Nations, and the United Nations has taken up it as a role model. And in the coming weeks in London, there will be a summit to discuss on the pros and cons of this Kanyasri scheme, how to implement this scheme in other states of the world. Sir, this is the way that a government should function. But here we have found that only a paltry sum of rupees 100 crore has been allocated for Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao. Sir, similarly, 100 crore has been allocated for start-up companies, for rural youths. And I consider this is a cruel joke. This is a cruel joke to the 55 crores of the youth of our country. Only 100 crores for the start-up companies for the youth. Sir, if 40 central schemes with an allocation of rupees 100 crores each is divided among 29 states and 7 union territories, what will be the actual amount to be received by the states and the union territories? Each state, if it is equally divided, then each state or union territory will get only rupees 2.77 crore for Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, for start-up companies for youth, for tribal welfare, for Ghat development, etc., and Madrasa modernization. This is, sir, horrible. This is horrible, I must say. The government must come out with a clarification of the metrics behind such laughable allocation. Sir, there are such other schemes too. For example, I am quickly referring 2-3 schemes. 100 crores for soil health card to Kishans. Government is so sympathetic to the Kishans that only rupees 100 crores have been allocated for soil health card to Kishans. 50 crores, only 50 crores for blue revolution. What is that blue revolution? We have heard white revolution, green revolution. What is that blue revolution? That is the development of inland fisheries, notwithstanding the prospect of export of prawns and other Indian fishes to foreign markets. Then, sir, 100 crore for madrasa modernization. How many madrasas are there in the country? Thousands of madrasas. And what will be the share of each madrasa if 100 crore is divided among 29 states and 7 union territories? This they call the minority welfare. Next comes 200 crores for national heritage cities. Which are the cities? identified as national heritage cities? What are the criteria? Is it only for sites of pilgrimage or cities of rich cultural heritage with long historical background? This needs a proper clarification. Then sir, 100 crores only for Ban Bandhu Kalyan Yojana. What a tribute to our brethren living in the forest zone of the country, the tribal people. Sir, for the small and medium scale enterprises, nothing has been allocated, but an assurance has been given that there will be a committee to evaluate, and thereafter appropriate steps will be taken. Whenever government wants to bypass something, government constitutes a committee or a commission to put the issue into cold storage. How many committees are there in this country running? How many corporations are there in this country running? Commissions after commissions, committees after committees. Punchi Commission set up for determining the center-state relations. It submitted its recommendation in 2010. We are in the middle of 2014. 3.5 years have elapsed. The recommendations of Punchi Commission are yet to be accepted by the government. Previous government did not initiate any action. I do not know whether the new government will do anything. But I would request, because since there is a person like Sri Arun Jaitley ji at the helm of the affairs, I sincerely believe that some action will be taken in this regard so that the recommendations of the Punchi Commission are accepted. Sir, in BJP's manifesto released on 7th of April, it categorically ruled out and disallowed the genetically modified foods without scientific evaluation. But what happened on 18 July? 5 days back, it is reported that the Environment Ministry has given a green signal for field trials of GM rice, mustard, cotton, chickpea and brinjals. My question is, what changed between 7th April and 18 July? This House needs a clarification. Are you listening? What your Swadeshi Jagaran Manch, what they are saying in this regard? Kindly go through the organizer paper. Your paper, I believe. What they have stated, the Swadeshi Jagaran Manch, they have raised a hue and cry against this field trial of GM rice, etc. Sir, rupees 1,500 crores has been allocated for National Ganga Plan. When you say national, you must keep in mind that Ganga does not emanate from Varanasi or ends at Varanasi. Ganga emanates at Gomukh. No, not Calcutta only. Beyond that. Ganga emanates at Gomukh in Uttarakhand, and after flowing through vast tracts of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, it merges with Bay of Bengal at Sagar Island in West Bengal. Therefore, while undertaking National Ganga Plan, whether government is aware of the fact that Gangotri Glacier near Gomukh, which is the source of Ganga, is receding at the rate of 19 meters per year, and according to NASA, the total registration of the Gangotri Glacier is 1,147 meters in the past 61 years. This is the estimation of the NASA. Sir, global warming is of course one of the major reasons, but rampant deforestation from Hardwar to Gangotri Glacier and construction of a number of dams and bridges from upstream to downstream has created a situation that may lead to disappearance of Ganga, like the original flow of Saraswati river was disappeared. If government is serious about National Ganga Plan, then it should have more scientific and modern ecological approach to the scheme than the emotional or religious passions being shown in some corners. Sir, the Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Bhai Modi ji has time and again said that he has himself experienced poverty since his childhood. The commitment of poverty elimination was also reflected in the President's speech delivered on June 9, 2014. Sir, but in this budget, only rupees 1,000 crores has been enhanced in respect of Manrega compared to last year's allocation, although Manrega needs a much higher allocation to be a genuine guarantor of employment to the poor. When the country is confronted with severe drought, only rupees 1,000 crore has been allocated for irrigation scheme. Sir, while the centrally sponsored schemes have been restructured, the Union government's assistance to the states has been drastically slashed from nearly rupees 40,000 crore under rupees 6,000 crores. There is no mention about granting fiscal autonomy to the states and the demand of the states, including the BJP-ruled states, that there should be 50-50 sharing of central tax revenue between central and states, or for that matter, inclusion of cess and surcharges for devolution to the states. So there must be a dispute redressal mechanism at the central level to prevent the finance ministers of different states of India to come to visit the corridors of North Block or the Planning Commission with begging balls. There should be a dispute redressal mechanism, and I request, I appeal to the government to consider whether the Finance Commission can be given a permanent status by changing our constitution. Sir, there is also no assurance of providing adequate compensation to the states for the revenue loss that will be incurred due to introduction of GST, although rupees 9,000 crores was allocated in last year's budget. This budget is also conspicuously silent about implementation of General Anti-Avoidance Rule, popularly known as GAAR, which is being deferred from time to time to the benefit of the corporates. Sir, upon listening the slogan of cooperative federalism, when I look at this budget, I find that the commitment made in the President's address, and here I quote from the address of the President only one line, I quote, "High priority will be accorded to bring eastern region of the country on par with the western region in terms of physical and social infrastructure," and that is almost absent. Only one industrial corridor, which was taken up by the previous government, that is Amritsar to Calcutta Industrial Corridor, has been announced, which will not only benefit the eastern region but some other states of northern India also. That has been announced. If the government is still interested about its look east policy, then I would suggest that the Amritsar-Kolkata Industrial Corridor must be extended to up to Siliguri, which is the gateway of Sikkim, Bhutan and 7 northeastern states. Sir, no assurance has been given for granting adequate financial assistance to West Bengal in particular and eastern states of Bihar, Odisha and Jharkhand, despite the fact that the interest payments are increasing owing to debt stress of West Bengal inherited from the previous government. I demand for a moratorium on all area debts of West Bengal inherited from the past. Sir, this apart, neither horticulture university nor a textile cluster has been sanctioned for West Bengal, although in this budget there are so many announcements for so many horticulture university and textile clusters in the country have been announced. Sir, in spite of the fact that West Bengal is the highest producing fruits and vegetable state in the country and has tremendous potentiality for raw silk and cotton, no textile cluster or horticulture university has been sanctioned. The another problem is a perennial problem with the jute industry. Among the 7 jute growing states of India, West Bengal has the largest number of jute growers. Apart from 4 lakh laborers engaged in 62 jute mills situated in West Bengal. Yet, instead of patronizing the jute industry in the manner the sugar industry has been given relief, the compulsory jute packaging of food grains and sugar has been diluted substantially, endangering the future of jute industry. Similar is the situation with the tea industry. In spite of the mandatory provisions in the Tea Act 1952, the Tea Board, which is a central government organization, has failed and neglected to come to the rescue of the tea plantation workers and extending assistance in improving their subhuman conditions. Sir, mere slogan of cooperative federalism will not do. When you talk about partnership and participating democracy, the government must recognize that India has no other identity than it is a union of states as enshrined in the very first article of the Constitution of India, and this article of the Constitution of India is an article of faith to all the Indians living in this country. Sir, India is a federation, hence the government must also recognize that the states are closer to the ground and therefore more effective at delivering public services like food, health, education, roads, transport, etc. Even the fields like agriculture, industry, irrigation, power generation and supply, etc. are the core areas where the state-sponsored schemes and policies depending upon diverse socio-economic geological considerations run successfully than the centrally sponsored schemes. The government must adhere to the recommendations of Sarkaria Commission and Punchi Commission on the center-state relations in this regard, and once it is done, the states would receive an appropriate increase in their shares of the divisive pool to be recommended by the 14th Finance Commission. I would urge upon the Honourable Finance Minister to look into this aspect with all seriousness. And this would end also the Planning Commission's role as a fiscal agent for devolution of resources at his whims and fancies. Sir, there is a popular belief that the BJP, after being routed in the last Lok Sabha election in West Bengal, the central government has resorted to political vendetta against the state. I am sorry to say, therefore, sir, I do not know whether this budget is a Sanjeevani or a Vishalvakarani, but to the people of West Bengal, this budget is a jar full of hemlock, and as it is said in Sanskrit, Madhu tisthati jivhagre hidaye tu halahalam. बहुत सारे चीज बताए गए इधर, लेकिन अगर हम अपने राज की तरह देखेंगे तो सिर्फ ये हलाहल है, जहर है. Sir, of course, my party does not hold this 2-month-old government responsible for all evils of 60 years of Indian independence. No, it cannot be. No one can hold this 2-month-old government for all these evils. But this budget, as it appears, is essentially a budget for corporate honchos, the crony capitalists, the FDI, FFI and PPPs. It is not meant for ensuring economic justice and equality to the larger section of Indian society. Sir, millions of our countrymen sincerely hoped and believed that there would be parivartan, as it was assured, a sea change by introducing well-orchestrated minimum government and maximum governance. But the maximum government, now it appears, is by FDI, FDI and FDI. FDI everywhere. FDI in civil aviation, FDI in railway, FDI in real estate, FDI in defense, FDI in agriculture, FDI in banking, FDI in insurance. अरे हमारे जल, थल, अंतरिक्ष FDI के कब्जे में चले गए। क्या हम देश और जनता को भी FDI के पास क्या गिरवी दे देंगे? ये सवाल आज पैदा हो गया। अब सरकार चलाने में भी हमको FDI का मदद लेने पड़ेगा क्या? ये सवाल पैदा होता है कि क्या हो रहा है देश में? सर, the Honorable Finance Minister, I know his hands are tied. In the given situation, he had to place this budget. But he has assured that the steps highlighted in the budget are only the beginning, of the efforts of India government for a revival. If it is a beginning, I do not know whether it is a beginning for the end. Beginning of the end or not, I do not know. But it is said that morning shows the day, but not necessarily the manner in which the budget has shown no way out. Sir, I would like to conclude here, although I have 3 minutes to conclude. I would like to conclude here with a few words from Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore's poem in Bengali, then it will be, of course, translated in English, a few lines only. যারে তুমি নিচে ফেলো সে তোমারে বাঁধিবে নিচে, পশ্চাতে রেখেছো যারে সে তোমারে পশ্চাতে টানিছে, হে মোর দুর্ভাগা দেশ যাদের করেছ অপমান, অপমানে হতে হবে তাহাদের সবার সমান. In English it is like this, because I cannot translate the Bengali couplets of Gurudev, but it is a very attempt on my religious attempt on my part, I must say, that those you trample underfoot drag you down, further backward they recede, the less you advance. Your brethren you have treated with disrespect, you must share with them all their ignominy. This is what Rabindranath Tagore said 100 years back against the social, political and economic exploitation of the British rulers, and I am appealing to the new rulers of this country to adhere to the caution given by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. Thank you, sir. With these words, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much.